So I'm not sure if the camera's going to pick it up, but I've got a really like gross, like swollen eyelid on my left eye. It's making me look like I'm like kind of always giving someone a side eye sort of thing. I just thought I'd bring it up in the video in case I look fucking weird. I can't really tell in the viewfinder. Hopefully I look alright. If not, I'll make my eye look bigger with editing. There we go, that looks much better. 2006 is a special year for me. It's the first year I got an iPod as a hand-me-down from my sister, and for the first time ever we got a computer at my mum's house that we could all use. Usually I just had one at my dad's that I'd use on weekends. And we also got Freeview, which meant we could watch music and cartoons to our heart's content. And we could download music on the internet as well on our new fancy laptop. I remember listening to so much new music around this time. We had Kerrang on at pretty much all times in the house. So the house was filled with stuff like Taking Back Sunday, Green Day, My Chemical Romance, Fall Out Boy. My Chemical Romance would release their big album The Black Parade in late 2006, I think it was about October time, which my sister absolutely fell in love with. I thought it was cool, but I was still a little bit young, so the idea of this like big rock opera power album, it was just too much for my little brain to comprehend. But it was obviously unavoidable, so I remember it fondly. I always look back on this period with rose-tinted glasses, but sometimes they slip off. I realised that at my old age, I much prefer the older stuff by Green Day, like Pre-American Idiot, and the same with Taking Back Sunday. And to be honest, I think Fall Out Boy are just a bit shit. I just don't really like their songs. And I tried re-listening to The Black Parade a few years ago, and it just doesn't do anything for me, apart from obviously the big hits like Welcome to the Black Parade, the one about teenagers. It's a shame really, I was too young to enjoy it in its prime, and now I feel like I'm too old to enjoy it as a classic. You know that YouTube comment that says like, oh, I was born in the wrong generation? I think I just got Kerrang the wrong year. Put that in the comment section. But there was one song that was perfect for my age group. And that song is Monster. What's that coming over the hill? Is it a monster? Is it a monster? A song with a hook so stupid, any kid could fall in love with it. But it was also a banging alt-rock song at the same time. Perfect for any preteen idiot looking to get into more diverse music. I was moving away from Crazy Frog into the big wide world of shitey alt-rock. Monster is a song by a band called The Automatic. Cool name, guys. The Automatic are an alt-rock band from Wales. They cropped up with about 3,000 other bands around this sort of time. After an explosion of alt-rock bands, suddenly it just felt like there were more and more and more being piled on top of each other. You know the bands like The Killers, Kaiser Chiefs, Franz Ferdinand, and many more. It was a good time, lots of refreshing new acts popping up, and they all sounded similar enough that you could easily hop between them like nobody's business. Maybe they were a bit too similar, but it was all a fun, good time. It was music that kids and dads could enjoy together. Kids got to listen to songs by getting boozed up and doing drugs, and dads got to listen to songs with guitars in it. Unlike that rubbish you hear on the radio, it's all just done on computer. That Kanye West, he just presses button on the keyboard, he can't play instrument. One of these bands cropping up was The Automatic. They landed a deal in 2005 and they were rushed to push out an album in just 2 months by their record label. The band believed that this made their songs sound incredibly rushed and sound quite samey and uninspired. But it led to them getting some good popularity. NME put them on their Best New Music tour, and they landed a tour with the Kooks as well. After going around promoting a new album, releasing a few singles here and there, they released their debut album alongside a new single, Monster. Monster quickly became their biggest hit, going all the way to number 4 on the singles chart, much higher than their other releases. Apparently the Monster lyric was supposed to be just a placeholder lyric before they could think of something better, but they never did, so it stuck. And thank God it did. It's such a weird, goofy lyric that gives the song so much personality. When you're up against 500 other bands making similar music, you want to stand out. You need something to give yourself an edge. And this hook certainly does that. 12-year-old me loved it. Most songs I heard age 12 were about sex and drugs, and I didn't know what they were. But Monsters. Yep, I know what that is. However, it turns out the song is about drugs the whole time. I'm shocked.
Grab and peel. Seals here.
Are you sober now?
No, yeah. I'm never, but I have moments.
Anyway, let's talk about the tune. I really like that opening riff. It's nice and sparse with a little bit of reverb. It really sells the Monster theme. Maybe it's just me, but it definitely sounds quite creepy. Ooh. Then not a moment later, the song kicks into full swing. It's here we're introduced to the Automatic's main defining feature, and that's Alex Penny, the keyboard and synth player. He has these incredibly bizarre backing vocals. I personally think they just sound awful. They're at a really weird pitch, and it sounds like he's more like an annoying cartoon character more than anything. He's like barking out these vocals. It's not like he's screaming, it's more like a less of a big dog, more of a smaller dog. Luckily, it somehow works on the Monster song. Who would have thought? You can't really hear them too much, they're kind of relegated back to the background. And Robin Hawks, the lead singer, his vocals are a lot safer sounding. What you typically expect from a band like this. In this song it works because of the monster theme. Like, it kind of sounds like Robin is the main protagonist of the song singing normally, and Alex Penny is the monster in the background. Rawr. Maybe I'm trying to pull something interesting here, but... And yeah, like I said, once we get into that hook, we get a huge crash of guitars and drums and that iconic hook. Iconic, at least in the way that trailer houses can use it for any creepy monster movie that's coming out. One of the things I enjoyed most about the song was the music video, which I saw a lot on Kerrang back in the day. We see our boys dressed as scrappy monster hunters trying to find all sorts of Bigfoots and Loch Ness monsters and all sorts. Lots of stupid gags and funny moments. I like the idea that the guys never actually find the monsters. It's always like they're always off in the background or they just miss them, stuff like that. And some nice little song references too, I especially like this Queen one. Very good. I loved this video as a kid, and I had a lot of fun rewatching it now, so it gets the big thumb from me. In fact, I loved this band so much as a kid that I asked my dad to buy the album. I figured this album would make a perfect addition to my growing CD collection of Demon Days, McFly, and Son of Dork. Surely the automatic would stack up against these titans. Another classic record for my collection. Problem was though, it wasn't really. I remember listening to the album as a kid and I was like, oh, this isn't quite what I expected, oh dear. And to give you an idea of my mindset, I listened to that Son of Dork album a lot as a kid. A lot. It really didn't take much to impress me, but this album just didn't cut it. I decided to give the album another listen now, and it starts off punchy enough. The first song is actually probably one of my favourites. It just immediately gets going, just loud and in your face. And it seems like the band had something to say about like the state of punk music or something.
What's a punk is dead, and this is so new. Your revolution kept up in a boardroom.
The problem with this song and a lot of songs in the album is that they lose steam real fast. They end up just repeating verses and hooks throughout the whole thing, sometimes up to like 4 or 5 times.
Back up your accents, back up your batteries. Now we're marching back to the factory. Back up your accents, back up your batteries. Now go marching back to the factory. Back up your accents, back up your batteries. Now go marching back to the factory.
Especially a song like this, the first verse is so good, you're expecting an equally good second verse, but then it just repeats again, and you're a bit like, oh. Despite the high energy, the songs just sound unfinished. And it's not like the instrumentals really develop much later on in the song either, they just sort of loop as well. Also, Penny's vocals stand out a lot more on the songs here. They were smart enough for Monster to relegate him to the background, but sometimes he's just left to bark, and it don't sound good. Instrumentally, the songs are kind of what you would expect from a band like this, but there's nothing spectacular here either. I like some of the synths and the keyboard bits on these songs, but sometimes they get a little bit lost in the mix. And one of the biggest issues here is the run times of the songs. Each song goes from around 3 to 4 minutes. And like I said, each song loses steam real quick because they're only working with one verse and one hook usually. They're trying to spread out these very small ideas to like 4 minutes, and it's just not needed. And you're trying to let the lackluster hooks do all the legwork, and it's just not happening. Imagine if Mr. Brightside was just like kind of shit and there was 12 of them and you've basically got this album. Some of these songs ended up from that EP I mentioned earlier, the one that was rushed out in 2 months, so it makes sense why some of the songs sound like this, but not all of the songs came from that EP, so what happened? It's just disappointing because I like a lot of the ideas that are on these songs. Like, they start off and I'm like, ooh, what's going on here? And then it just nothing happens. There's a song called You Shout, You Shout, You Shout. The song's about how everything's going a bit stale and the automatic are fed up. Ah, I can get behind that, yeah sure. What you got to say, boys?
So much trash on the radio today. Keep dancing in the routine way.
Ooh, good little line there. Ooh. Problem is it repeats this line about 500 times during the song.
So much trash, so much trash, so much trash.
And like, you're literally saying that other songs are routine and trash, and then your own song has this hook 7 times? Christ. Like, come on fellas, fucking hell, can you not see the irony here? Raoul is probably the biggest offender here. By the 1 minute mark, you've heard a cool synth lead up, a short verse, a hook, and a pre-hook. And then you're treated to the band yapping about a man named Raoul.
Let's go see Raoul. Let's make a stand. Let's go see for all the ones who.
This lasts about 20 seconds, and then the song just, like, starts over. The song has already dealt its entire hand, and that was barely the third into the song. It's basically just a lackluster 1-minute song looped 3 times. And like I said, it's not like this song is like really good so you want to hear it multiple times, it's just not that interesting. Apparently Raoul was a sandwich shop owner that the band went to see when they were having a break from work. Well done lads, that is officially the most boring song topic I've ever heard in my life. And that's one of the better songs on the album. I read the shit Enemy review of this album and it's aged as well as a Little Britain episode made of cheese.
Hello, Mr. Dudley.
My favourite quote is, soon all bands will have an Alex Penny. By 07, the Automatic wouldn't even have an Alex Penny. So yeah, even as a kid I'd only really listen to this to hear Monster. I also kind of like a song called Lost at Home. It's one of the better tracks on the album. Penny's vocals aren't really on it. I assume it's him on the synth, so, you know, it's not like they chucked him out. It's alright, yeah. Like I said, most of the tracks just don't have enough meat on them for me. And unfortunately, the band would never hit the high of Monster ever again. Penny left the band in 07, and the band had a few issues releasing their second album and single. I tried looking this up and I couldn't really find anything. Apparently, like, they mislabeled the date or something and that they thought they were going to release it. I'm not too sure. It was a big cock-up, apparently. They eventually left the label because of this and self-released their third album. I only listened to this album once and... it somehow made me miss Penny screeching over these songs. The songwriting has improved to the point where these feel like full songs. But yeah, there's like no grit to them or anything. Also by 08 and 010, these guys were starting to sound very dated and plain. The first album was released the same year as Arctic Monkeys' first album, and if this band had any pop punk or emo crossover like that Enemy review said they do, Gerard Way and the gang was about to ruin their lives in October. I can't see any of them coming back to this album once that came out. And alt rock as a whole would just evolve without Automatic. But still, Monster lives on. You can still hear it in a few games and shows whenever like they feel they need a stupid Monster song to spice it up. And I feel like it lives on in the memories of my age group. In year 6, this song was unavoidable and I had it on CD. I was the god of the playground for about a week. It was like owning the Holy Grail. In fact, I've got it here. Ugh. Looking a bit worse for wear these days, but yeah, I generally carried this around with me at the playground and I had a little Walkman and I'd show people Monster. Oh, look at that scratched up jewel case. One cool little thing is that the album has this cool little comic in it. Ain't that neat? It's not amazing, but it's, I don't know, it's kind of cool. Don't really see that in albums these days, so yeah, bring it back, the Monster comic. I have that, but I can't find my Son of Dork CD or my McFly CD, very sad. Anyway, the band would go on a hiatus in 2010 after their third album failed to kick off. I didn't realise how young these guys were during Not Accepting Anywhere. They're only around 20 when making the album, and they started the band when they were 13. That's pretty crazy. Alex Penny would continue making his own music until around 2015. And Robin Hawks had this to say about Monster. We wrote a song and it did really well. I don't really see what there is to be upset about. You get labelled as one-hit wonders, but that's more hits than most people have. And it's not like we've disappeared without a trace. We've got a second album coming out, which in my opinion is full of much better songs. We wouldn't have been in a position to fly to LA and make a record if it wasn't for Monster. Obviously this was pretty early on and the quote's not dated amazingly, but I imagine the sentiment is still there. I can't really see this band existing without Monster. And I'm not sure what they really needed. There seems to have been quite a few missteps with the band, like making them rush out songs and messing up their single releases, and not to mention band members leaving. But it is what it is. A goofy one-hit wonder that I'd be sad to see forgotten. I don't see people talking about Monster anymore. What's going on? Bring back Monster! I don't care if it's not Halloween. Go and listen to it and have a good time. Maybe next time I'll review that Son of Dork album. I wonder how badly that's aged.
I'm parked here outside of your door. No, you never lock it. Got your keys in my pocket.
Are we the baddies?
Anyway, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know this video might have been a little bit rushed and a little bit smaller scale to some of the stuff I usually do, but I'm struggling to find times to film at the moment, so the schedule might be a little bit slower, but I do have a lot of scripts written out. I've got like 3 or 4 finished scripts just waiting to film them, so once I just find time to, you know, sit down and film them, then should be all Gucci. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to subscribe and have a good evening.